What's up, everybody, and welcome into the number one Group of Five college football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this episode of Inside Drill, Austin Cochran from Rivals.com. Going to talk Group of Five recruits, top recruits. Going to talk about how Rivals works, how they rank guys, how they give people stars, and plenty more. Hope you enjoy it. All right, guys, in an effort to learn more about recruiting and rankings and portal and all of this stuff is the mission that we're on right now, bringing on Austin Cochran. Now, there's always a Middle Tennessee connection. Okay, so we knew Austin back when he was running around at Middle, and then of course when we were running around at Middle. But Austin Cochran is now the recruiting and data analyst for Rivals. Austin, appreciate you coming on, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm a big fan of you guys, so I really appreciate you guys letting me hop on and spread some Group of Five knowledge a little bit.
So now Austin put together an article last week after the signing day about some of the top Group of Five players. So he's one of the good ones now. One of the guys shedding light to the high school kids and JUCO kids and whatnot that are signing at the Group of Five level. But Austin, walk us through just overview of what you were doing at Middle and then how you got to your role now at Rivals.
Yeah, so got a really good opportunity to work with Coach Stock and then a little bit with Coach Mason the last couple of years at MTSU. I got to be the director of recruiting. It was great experience. Got to do all of the recruiting stuff from watching film, evaluating guys, and all of the official visit stuff, and bringing everybody on. The typical recruiting stuff, and it was great. And prior to that, got to do some stuff with the Hula Bowl and scouting, and so really been a process to get to that point. And then now here at Rivals, it's a great situation. I got pretty lucky to kind of fall into it after everything happened with Middle, with Stock getting fired, and then the rest of the staff getting let go, and the opportunity at Rivals opened up, and it seemed like a great fit, and they were very excited to have me and my experience. So it was really cool to hop on, and can't say no to getting to work from home. So that was a big selling point. But yeah, it's been great so far, and get to do a lot of stuff. And they asked me to look at and cover a lot of Group of Five stuff because of my background. So it's been a lot of fun.
So now, is that something that they had you do, realizing your experience where, maybe there wasn't a ton of coverage at the Group of Five level, but they knew you had spent so much time there that it was like a perfect fit? Or was it a situation where they were like, hey, man, we got to have, what came first, I guess, you or the idea of wanting to talk about the Group of Five?
I think it was more so me. They're a media company, so obviously they like to focus more on the bigger names, the Georgias and the Texases, and I can't fault them for that. But it was something when I started that I was like, hey, I'm happy doing this stuff, but I would love to get more involved in the writing and side of that things. And they said, oh, that's great. And because of my experience at the Group of Five, they said, hey, you can do this Group of Five stuff, and we think that would be great. And it probably doesn't get great reviews, but it's fun for me, and I get to work on my writing and get to build more of a following, I guess. So I think it helps out both ways. So I've enjoyed it, and they haven't said no to me yet. So I'll just keep going and trying to promote the Group of Five as much as I can, as much as they let me.
Jeff, before you ask a question, I just want to say something to you, Austin. Don't let anybody over there ever give you flack, because you got the harder job. Listen, anybody can go down to St. Thomas Aquinas and see a 6'8", 320-pound left tackle that's committed to Ohio State and say, "Oh, 5-star." Yeah. I mean, you're doing the real work. All right.
Oh yeah,
anyway.
That's what I tell them all the time. They just recently had me start looking at all of the guys that are committed to such and such school that don't have stars yet, and they're like, yeah, just go in and and watch them briefly and like give them a 2-star. And I'm like, no, I'm like actually going to help these guys. Like these kids that go to Charlotte or wherever, like they can be a 3-star, and they do that all the time. They're like, I just give him a 2-star, and I'm like, no, I'm actually going to rate him where I think he needs to be rated. So it's fun.
I love it. Well, let me say, I read the article, best article I have read in a really long time. Seems like you got some great writer and great sense. But let's get into the article a little bit. What kind of stood out to you about some of these players? You ranked them 1 to 10, and there's some big names and big schools that I think could be key pieces down the road. So any players kind of pop out to you in this list, or anyone you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of good players with all the new stuff going on with NIL booming and the roster limits that the NCAA is making now. I really feel like there's such a boom of talent at the Group of Five and the FCS level that we probably really haven't seen before, because there's just not enough spots everywhere to go around. So we're going to be able to get more elite type players at these kind of air quotes smaller programs than we probably really ever had before. And a lot of these guys on this list, I have previously written about each conference's top 5 commits at the time, and so a lot of these guys I had already written about before. But there's a ton of these guys. I mean, Antoine Hill, the number 1 guy. I mean, he's elite. He's the top guy at the Group of 5 level. He's a 4-star legit guy. I mean, he's got the body. He's 6'5", 230 or whatever he is, 220, and he's really got all the tools. He's got the mechanics. He's got the arm talent. He's, with Hennigan leaving, graduating out, he's really going to have a great shot to come in immediately. He's going to be an early enrollee, so he's going to be able to get in early and really start to learn the system. They're probably, I would imagine, still wanting to, bring in transfer guy, an older guy from, wherever, just to have some competition. But he's got every opportunity to come in and play immediately. I think he's great. I think he's got all of the shot to do that, and I think he has a very good shot at starting next year. Got to talk about my WKU guy. I went to WKU. Sorry, a little bit of the enemy, but
I didn't know that, Austin.
I did not know that.
I probably should have. Glad I didn't mention it earlier. I might not let me come on. But,
no, it's all good.
But Brandon Thomas down there in Florida, who's going to WKU, he's so athletic. I mean, he's an athletic freak. He looks like a track star coming off the edge. He's so fast. He's so long. He's got to put some weight and some strength on, like a lot of kids do. But he reminds me so much of D'Angelo Malone, who was there for forever and set records and was a 3rd or 4th round pick with WKU. Love that kid. He's awesome. He's number 3 on the list. And then I put him at number 4 because I love him, but he's kind of like he's my hidden X factor, is the next guy, number 4, Mason Drube, who's going to Wyoming. About him. He's really, really good. He's so accurate. Like, I don't know if I've seen many more accurate. And like, I've had to do a lot of work on the 2026 classes and the 2027 classes that are going to be 5-star kids. And like, this kid, to me, he throws the ball as good as any of those guys that I've watched. Like, I love him. I think he's going to be awesome. He's going to light it up over there in Wyoming. Probably the last guy that I'll talk about that I have really high hopes for is number 6, Matthew Pointer. He's got so much potential. He's only played football for 2 years. This is his 2nd year playing, and he wreaks havoc off the edge. He's long. He's 6'6". He's got so much potential to be good. And I love him going down there to FIU with the staff that they're putting together down there now. Like, I really think that he's going to be able to shine and just blossom into an elite player. I really do.
It's funny, when I read the article originally, Drube and Pointer were 2 that just, for some reason, I don't know why, Sprouse, could just be a ball knower type thing, but like, I was like, these are the 2 guys. For some reason, I just had a feeling about them. That's funny you brought them up.
Yeah.
Well, anytime
They're
you get, and I'm sure Austin knows this, anytime with Pointer, the first thing I saw was Chaminade Madonna, which I think they win the state title more than they don't. You know what I mean? Like, you could take Chaminade versus the field almost any year, and they're going to win it down there. So I want to, you touched on it a little bit, and this is, I think, what the people want to know. This is what I want to know. So walk me through the process, right? I'm a freshman in high school.
Mhm.
You know, I don't have any offers. I haven't been to any camps. I don't really have film. Like, what's the process of me getting on the Rivals website and getting a star ranking?
Yeah, so the easiest way is we at Rivals, we have our camp series all across the country every year. We've got our elite camps which is where we bring in the top talent, the guys that we really want to see, right? We invite them to there's going to be a couple of them this year. We invite them in, we host them, they do a combine, right? They run through all the drills, but those are the guys that we already know about. We have combines all throughout the country as well. We have about 6 or 7 of those as well at cities all across the country that are anybody can come. We want you to come, and we get your information from you participating in the combine, and we build you a profile from you coming to the combine. I think it's like $20 or something. It's really cheap. We kind of partner with NCSA on that to really help get more kids noticed, get profiles out there, and get their names out there. Other than that, that's kind of the easiest, most basic way. Um, Going to schools camps, that gets on everybody's radar. If you start picking up offers somewhere, that's going to get on other teams' radars, media websites' radars, like Rivals 247, all that stuff. And yeah, the easiest way really is to get to our camps so that we can see you personally. And then other than that, just getting your name out there more, going to schools camps, Under Armour camps, if you can swing those, just getting to camps, getting in front of as many people, as many faces as you can, and just getting yourself out there as much as possible is the best way to go about us finding you if you're not some elite 5-star player.
So on a macro level, obviously I'd assume those camps are all across the country. You know, do you have certain, you know, people like yourself that are across the country that focus on, I guess, geographically certain states or areas? Like, how does that work with so many high school and college players?
Yeah, so we kind of our national staff is really set up a lot like an NFL scouting staff. We have our you can call them national scouts, where they are. We've got a scout that lives in Ohio. We've got a scout that lives in Florida that covers the whole state of Florida. We've got a couple guys that live in Texas that cover the southeast and the Texas area, and then a guy in the north. We have guys set up everywhere, and we say, hey, you're covering this area. Go see kids in this area. Write about kids in this area. Rank kids in this area. So when it comes to time to do all of those things, those are the experts that we go to and say, hey, what about so and so from New Jersey? Yeah, I've got this whole breakdown on them right here for you. So that's kind of how we do it, very similar to the way the NFL does it. They've got their area scouts where they say, hey, you're covering Penn State and Boston College, and you have to write up stuff on these guys. So very similar to that. And then we have guys over the top that are our directors of. We have a director of recruiting, Adam Gorney. We have a director that's in charge of rankings, Adam Freeman. Yeah, so we have over the top guys, and then we've got the national guys.
So how much of it is, let's say a guy comes to camp, you see him, and you run the 40, you run through some drills, whatever, and then how much of that is, okay, now we need to go watch this guy in a game, or at least watch his film? And how difficult is that, again, like Jeff said, with however many thousands of high school athletes out there?
Yeah, and this is, I've only been working here for a couple months, so I can't answer that 100%. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're exactly right. If some kid comes to our combine in Indianapolis that we don't really know anything about, but he runs a 4.4 40 and he's 6'1", 190 pounds, we're probably going to flip on his film and say, hey, what's up with this kid? Just to do our due diligence on him and check if he's got any offers or anything like that, and build our profile out from there. So again, I haven't gone through the camp cycle yet. This will be my first time doing it. So yeah.
And then, and this is kind of along the same lines, like, and you sort of mentioned it earlier. So, let's say you have a kid, he's got 2 stars. You saw him at camp. He watched a little bit of film. He's fine. And then, he's got a couple offers. Maybe he's got a middle and a Western offer. and he's a 2-star, but then, out of nowhere, Auburn calls or Auburn offers him. Is that like an automatic 3rd star, or how does that work?
It's not an automatic 3rd star. More times than not, we have pretty regular, consistent rankings meetings. We had one today, actually, for the 2026 class earlier. We have them pretty regularly every couple months or so, especially right before the season, right after the season, where we kind of we preview everything. Everybody, who like, hey, we really need to go see XYZ player during this season, and then after the season, we'll come back and we'll, talk about all of our notes. Hey, this player did great. We need to move him up. This player didn't have that good of a season. We need to move him down. So in the instance that you're talking about, if somebody is a 2-star or a low 3-star or something and has middle, Western, Charlotte, whatever, and then throughout the course of the season picked up Auburn, Boston College, Iowa State, something like that, we would likely move them up at least a little bit, depending on the level of how good their season was. And how serious we feel like those offers actually are, right? Because we're talking to people inside these colleges all the time, like, hey, how serious is this offer that this guy just got? Is it actually committable? So something like that it just comes up in those rankings meetings.
So obviously you spent time at middle staff and did recruiting there, and now being at Rivals for the time you've been there. How much, and you may not be able to answer this question, but how much do you think that recruiters on staffs and coaches actually take in the stars to account? Do you think it's something that they kind of use as a baseline and assess for themselves, or do coaches typically, I don't really look at the stars and I just assess it, on their own?
At middle, we did not care at all about the stars. If a kid was a 3-star, I guess that was cool. We didn't really care. We watched him and said, does he fit what we want to do? Does he fit the kind of person that we want to bring in? If he checks both of those boxes, then we were in for him. At some of the bigger schools, Florida State and Alabama, that may swing more of a hammer. They may want to have that, oh, this is a 5-star kid. I don't know. I've never worked in those programs. I feel like it probably does at least a little bit, right? They want to be able to swing that hammer of, we've signed 6 5-stars this class or whatever, because that looks good for them for the next cycle, that, hey, we were able to sign such and such many players. But as far as it was with us at middle, we didn't really care. We just wanted the best players that we could get that fit what we wanted to do.
So, and I guess a follow-up on that question for me is, do you ever have, and you may not have seen this yet at Rivals, but maybe at middle you saw it, where some kid has a great, some kid comes in, plays as a freshman, and nobody knows where the hell he came from? And is that a situation where, when you were talking about the camps and everything, I'm thinking of like, man, I knew some guys that, probably couldn't even swing that $20. You know what I mean? Right. They never went to a camp. They maybe went to a smaller high school. Nobody knew about them, but then they end up somewhere and they're damn good. Are there meetings at Rivals where you're like kicking yourselves? Like, how the hell did we miss this kid? This kid could have been a 3 or 4-star. And then on the other side is on the recruiting side, how did nobody know about this kid? You know what I mean? How did he have no stars?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that stuff I feel like is just always going to happen. There's so many players that go under the radar all the time, whether it's you're from a small town, small school, and you just get overlooked. It happens all the time. I know at MTSU, Jordan Ferguson, he was not very highly recruited. And they initially brought him in. He played running back in high school. They initially brought him in, I think, as a linebacker, and then he worked his way down into the line, and he was an incredible player. So that stuff has happened a lot. And yes, I'm sure at Rivals they see these guys that end up going to a Group of 5 school and then transferring up to a big program and being highly successful, and they're like, well, how did we miss on him? But also in the inverse, they rank guys as 5-stars all the time, and they just dud out and don't ever do anything, and transfer 7 times and play 200 snaps in their career. And so it happens all the time both ways. It's just part of the process, I think.
Now with the transfer portal being what it is today, I mean, obviously you guys rank the transfers as well. Is it pretty much the same process? I mean, it seems like you'd have a little bit more film now. Do you guys, take those rankings? I don't want to say more serious. That's not the right word, but it's easier, I would assume, to assess because they typically have film, at least the top guys that are going into the portal.
Yeah, it's its own beast. It really is, because like you said, there's guys that go into the portal that have played, and they're easier to rank, like you said, rate. And then there's guys that go in that have not played in college. They're a redshirt freshman or whatever, and maybe they were a 4-star coming out of high school, but they haven't played in 2 years. So where exactly do you slot them? So that part is definitely hard, and it just is part of the process. Like I mentioned earlier, it's always going to be, it's here to stay. The transfer portal's here to stay. So that kind of stuff is always going to be, it's always going to be. So
how much? My last question for you, also, and then we'll let you roll. How much are you talking to their coaches in the process, whether it be at the high school level or the portal? As far as, like, if they don't have snaps, like, how are they in practice? Like, can they play at this level, or is there any of that happening?
yeah, I don't do it as much because I'm just kind of the spreadsheet guy that just plugs in all the numbers. But I know that Adam and Adam, our two Adams, are, they're hitting up people all the time, and they know these kids a lot as well, just from the years of them coming up. So they can text them, they can text their agents, they can text the coaches, and they do that pretty frequently. I know that, just to get a headspace of where the kid's at, why he's leaving, talk to the coach, hey, why wasn't he playing, all that good stuff.
Well, my last question is going to be, Veltkamp and TJ Finley are both in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Who's Western Kentucky's quarterback going to be next year?
Man, I don't know. They'll probably snag a portal guy. I don't even know.
That's been their MO the last
so.
few years. Yeah, it's just so weird. Yeah. He did a good job this year.
Weird. Yeah, he's probably going to get paid to go somewhere, though. Wouldn't surprise me if they got some FCS guy that moved up, but they love the portal up there. That's for sure.
They've had some luck with the FCS guys over the last several years. That's for sure.
True. That is true.
Well, Austin, man, we can't thank you enough for coming on. Hopefully everybody learned something. I learned a little bit, I learned a lot, and we'll definitely keep in touch with you if we, maybe I sometimes go to some local high school games. Maybe I'll shoot you a text. If I got my eye on some kid, I'll say, hey, look, let's go 2-star. Let's get this kid to middle. Okay, but he's really about a 4-star.
See here, Sprouse has got his own type of spreadsheet when we go to games. It's called the glute, calf, and trap check. And that's the main things he looks at in pregame warm-up. And he's been pretty spot on, I have to say.
I've never been wrong. Yeah. Yeah, but that's a little more challenging at the high school level. First of all, number one, you don't want to be, being a weirdo. And number two, maybe not fully developed yet. You know what I mean? You got to see the potential at that level versus what you've already got. But, man, thanks for coming on, Austin. That's Austin Cochran from Rivals. Thanks, brother.
Austin, is there a place, real quick, that people can find your articles or that you write, or Twitter page?
All my articles are on Rivals. You can hit the search bar and then just type in my name, and they should all pop up.
Awesome.
Love it. Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Well, Jeff, I mean, like I said to him, he's doing the real work.
He is.
I can go to Hoover High School right now and pick out the 5-stars. I mean, it's not difficult.
No, I mean, you look at the biggest guys and fastest guys on the field, and it's pretty simple, especially if they're on a winning, part of a winning program. But no, I loved the input that he had, and there's just so much that goes into that I had no idea how it worked. But it makes a lot more sense, and at least glad to know that we got some people that were in the business, of assessing talent, at least trying to do the right thing and giving out these stars. Makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah, 100%. And he alluded to it a little bit, and you never really know for sure because every program is probably different. And I think, like we always talk about, you could spin any narrative to fit your agenda, but about whether or not, coaches care about the star rankings. And coaches probably don't, but it's going to be your marketing people that can put out the Instagram that says we signed 5-star guys or whatever. We signed a number 2 ranked class, in the conference or whatever they spin to put it on. And then, of course, if you have a bad recruiting class, you can just be like, we don't give a shit about rivals.
Yeah.
We evaluate on our own. So, but definitely appreciate Austin coming on. I was unaware, Jeff, that he was a Western Kentucky grad, though.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, but that's okay. Appreciate Austin coming on, talking with us, and definitely go check out that article. We retweeted and linked it. It's on his page as well. And man, hopefully, the more Group of 5 content he puts out, we'll definitely share it and keep that train rolling.
100%. And look, man, as we've built this, or helped build this little Group of 5 community that we've got, look, man, hey, follow those guys now. Now you know a couple of guys that we can watch, a couple QBs, a lot of skill guys, defensive linemen, pass rushers. Watch them over the years. In 3-4 years, you'd be able to say, hey, man, Austin wrote about that guy when he was coming out of high school. Turned out to be damn good. So can't thank you enough, Austin. Appreciate you coming on, brother. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. And make sure you go over to all the social media platforms at Group of 5 Guys and hit the follow button there.